Part of my adventures into making this a Bowden style extruder involved making this motor mount and all that kind of stuff. And excuse my low lighting, I'm just kind of doing this off the cuff. But anyway, it pretty much works, and it just runs down to here, and I got the thing down there. But here's something that happened. It clogged up, and let me see if I can show you this. You see that right in there? You can see it in there. See how there's filament on both sides? Not supposed to happen. I know, right? So that's a little bit of a mess. Upon further inspection, you can see here, see all that filament? It looks to me like it was being fed into here and then just got messed up in here. And since it's curved like that, I'm thinking what happened. Zoom out. When this thing clogged up, I felt this motor, and it was hotter than 32 hells. And this motor's tuned correctly. But if you also notice, this is one of these smaller steppers. This is the stock extruder that the cloner normally has. So this is a 2.6 kilogram per centimeter motor. Whereas something like the Kossel, like this guy right here, has one of the big what is it, 5.2 or 4.6? Is that what it is? I'm a support, I should know this. Either way, it's the bigger motor. It's also the Y motor, the one back there. It's also the it's one of these motors too. No, it's the Y motor on the Prusa as well. It's the bigger of the two motors, of the two sizes. Anyway, usually with a Bowden style extruder, you want a bigger motor, but this one I just put it on there just to do testing, and it did work fine for most prints. But this print I was working on was I think it was like 3 hours long, so about an hour and a half in, this thing just got way freaking hot. So I'm thinking that this the brass nut thing, I know what these are called, bear with me guys, I'm pretty sure this whole thing got so damn hot that the filament actually started to melt, or at least, was malleable enough to where it wasn't being fed up correctly. So it basically got itself jammed up. So as you can see there, it's jammed. It's quite a jam too. So I'm going to take this apart, fix that. And this Bowden setup does work freaking great. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get another motor, so I think I'm going to go to folgertech.com and order one. I don't know if I get an employee discount. I don't care. They're cheap anyway. They're Folgertech's prices, some of the best. Wink wink. Totally not a shameless plug. I don't get commission, guys, it's fine. But yeah, I'm gonna get a bigger motor for this and see what this see how these adventures work. Ooh, look at that! Oh, it's beautiful. These are some great close-ups. I don't care. I'm just rambling, but this is pretty full. God, you can see the amount of clog that's in there. Holy crap! Let's see how close I can get before my camera shits itself. Oh shit! Oh, right there. Come on. Focus, you frick. To quote one of my favorite YouTubers. If you know who I'm talking about, you're awesome. But yeah, this does work. But, moving on. So now here we sit. This is, what, 2 or 3 months after the clip you just saw? Yeah, something like that. So this is the cloner that I have successfully converted to a Bowden extruder style thing. So I'm going to go over a little bit what you'll need if you want to do this. If I forget anything, then I've forgotten it, and good luck. But I'm going to try to include everything that I'm thinking of. And 2 lights. Cool, right? Because my main light system is way over yonder in the closet, and I don't want to get it out because it's like 2 in the morning. So, first things first, cloner normally has motors right here. It's direct drive, so if you have dual extruders, it's motor, and they pull the filament through just like that. issue with that is when you have the motor sitting on the carriage, like the Prusa does the same thing, the motor is actually on the carriage, you're going to have a lot more momentum with more weight, or more mass technically, but whatever. So because of that, you can have a little bit of backlash when it's changing directions really quick, so you have to run it a little bit slower for it to look better quality. So doing it this way, you're completely eliminating all the weight that was on it. So I've seen a massive improvement in the quality of my prints. So let's see what I can show you. For one, back here we have this plastic mount. This is actually 3D printed. This is a motor mount for Bowden extruders, or Bowden conversions for the MakerBot replicator. The original one, which is what the cloner is a copy of. So this is, someone designed this and it's meant to fit in one of these stepper motors. Now of course you've seen the clip that I just showed where I had the original motor in here. The original stepper motor for the extruder for the cloner was the smaller stepper, which is I think what, 2.6 kilogram per centimeter or whatever it is, and it was overheating like a son of a gun. So this is actually the larger one, which is what the Kossel uses for its extruder, and it's Bowden as well. And this thing does not get hot at all when you tune it correctly. It's great. It works perfectly for this application. So if you're going to do something like this, you're going to need at least this, at least a new motor, preferably. One of the bigger, I think it's 4.8 or 5.2 kilogram per centimeter stepper motors. You're also going to need this plastic bit. There is a mirror image one that can go on this side if you want to run it over on yonder. And I will put a link in the description to this part. You're also going to need this fitting right here. The Ptfe tubing that comes with the cloner is not the correct size for a Bowden setup. This Ptfe tubing I got when I got a few Bowden extruders in the mail. It comes with it. It's, I believe, 1.75 or 1.8 millimeter inner diameter by 2 or 3 outer diameter. I don't remember. And then this is a little fitting that's meant to fit in that hole in this, and you can actually undo this. Whenever I change filaments or whatever, I have to actually undo this to help guide it in. It's not automatic, but yeah, it's basically you just need that and the correct Ptfe tubing for the filament, because you don't want the filament to have a lot of room. Like the Ptfe tubing that it comes with is basically just kind of a guide more than anything, but for a Bowden setup you need it to be almost exactly the same diameter, inner diameter as the filament, or else you're going to have a lot of issues. So this is actually meant for a Bowden setup for 1.75 millimeter filament. I don't know exactly where you guys can get it, but like I said, I got this from from an extruder that I got in the mail. Actually got it from Folger Tech. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Anyway, so that is that fitting. Actually, I believe it's an M8 or M9 or something like that thread. Whereas the one on the other end, it's hard to see, but that little dude right there, that one actually is a smaller thread because it's meant to thread into the same hole right over here. I believe it's M5 or M6, I don't remember. But it's the same thread as the threaded tube for the extruder. And it just goes right into there, threads all the way in, and then the threaded tube for the actual hot end itself just butts up right into it, and boom, there you go. The heated block takes care of all the cooling needs, and that's why I have these heat sinks on all 4 sides, especially with the the fans on them as well. I actually broke a fin off this fan, so it's loud and annoying. This little piece is just there to kill noise because of the fan. Don't worry about that. But yeah, you can see it just plugs right into there. And like I said, this setup actually is really nice. Oh, one other thing you'll have to do. See how I have tape right here on this heat sink? There's a little spacer, like a 3D printed thing. It's like 1/4 of an inch thick. And it works as a spacer because now that there's no motor here, when you move it over to the end stop, it has to be there to trigger the motor. God, my camera works terrible. If you don't have that little spacer there, the heatsink, or even if you don't have a heatsink, isn't going to be able to hit the end stop, and it'll just keep crashing into it, and the end stop won't get triggered, and bad things happen when you do that. So just letting you know that. That's why that's there. It's, you know, so it triggers this end stop over here. So if you do get into those kind of adventures, that's what you're going to need. So yeah, it's really pretty simple. I mean, just another motor that was like $8 or something like that. This plastic part, which I printed. You know, you have to have a working 3D printer, but I'm assuming you're going to have one if you're doing this. I have 3, so if I screw up one in this process, I can do more. So that's good, but not everyone has that. You know, this tubing, this fitting, and that's basically it. You do lose a little bit of build height when you do this because of how this all sits. Normally that threaded tube sits flush with the aluminum block down here. Because this is threaded in there, you're losing, I don't know, like 1/4 of an inch or something like that of height, because the threaded tube can't thread all the way up. It has to stop when it butts up to this. So you will have to adjust your Z height a little bit. I actually changed out my hot end as well, so I actually had to take a little another piece of 3D printed something and then tape it up here, just so there's a little bit of a spacer for this Z end stop over here, because the Z end stop didn't have enough travel to you know, allow this to work. So, by the way, this is a custom adjustable Z end stop. I'll make a video about that, a really short one, because it's really cool. I completely designed it myself, and it works so much better than the stock system. So, like the video if you want to see something about that. But yeah, this is actually, it works really well, this whole system of Bowden on the cloner. I didn't like how it was printing when I had it set up, especially since I do have the dual extruder version, so I had both the motors on there, and it was so damn heavy, and this thing was just, it was wobbling all around, and I didn't really like it. So this way eliminates a lot of weight on this extruder, or on this carriage, so you do get really good quality prints from it. I will also note that I have these zip ties right through here, right on here, and they go underneath the bearings and wrap around and then come up the front. Basically what I was noticing is where the plastic wraps around the bearing, there was a little bit of play because of that, and it would cause a little bit of play, and play in 3D printers is no good. So I just wrap these around and tighten these as much as I can, and it basically just kind of squeezes the plastic against the bearings a little bit better. And I also did the same thing over here on the back as well. You kind of have to fudge a little bit with the carriage. It's not really meant to do that, but it works, kind of thing. So yeah, keep that in mind. And other than that, you know, this is kind of a, you know, it's a 2 a.m. video. It's not a super detailed, super nice and all that, but seriously, if you have the time and you want to do a little bit of experimentation with this printer, I highly recommend trying this out, because it does work really well. You do have to drill a hole. So that top screw right there is for the top mount, and the bottom one is that right there. It won't focus, but you get the idea. That one I actually used a shorter screw, so I didn't need to put a nut onto it, and it's pretty secure. It's not going anywhere. Because I did print this in PLA plastic, actually, it warped a little bit when the previous thing happened, when the motor overheated, so I did have to reprint this originally, but with this big ass motor on it now, it doesn't get very hot, so PLA plastic will work for this, if you're wondering. The only thing I will note is the hole that this whole system, you know, that goes straight through past the extruder and everything. I would widen it with a drill bit if you can, because it's a little tight, just to let you know. But yeah, this is a proof of concept. I mean, this isn't a complete how-to on how to do this. You really have to be into designing things if you want to try this out. But this is a proof of concept that it does work, and the prints that I've been getting out of this since I did this is actually really nice. I actually just did this today. Check it out. You know who this guy is? Well, you don't. But if you do, you're cool. So, yeah. This was done on the cloner. And I don't know if I can get it to frick. This is actually 2 different pieces that I glued together, but yeah, Flowey from a wonderful video game. If you know who it is, you're cool. But yeah, the prints that I've been getting on this thing with this Bowden setup is really phenomenal. I was not expecting much out of doing it, but yeah, it is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm going to stop rambling now. So yeah, I'll include parts, and if I can find them, description. Like I said, I can't really help you much if you're going to try to do this. Just kind of use this as a baseline. I didn't have any sort of basis to doing this. I just did it because I'm that way. But if you're trying to do it, don't use this as a complete guide. You know, do your research, because I'm sure, just look up, you know, MakerBot replicator, the original replicator Bowden conversion, and I'm sure you're going to find information, because it's basically the same printer. So I'm going to stop rambling now. Information will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and until the next time, I will see y'all later.